Please. Chair Kathy Walker.
Here.
Vice Chair Wayne Richards.
Here.
Secretary Treasurer Joseph Anderson.
Present.
Commissioner Blair Sickland.
Here.
Commissioner Jean Enright. Executive Director Manuel Almira.
I'm here.
Court Counsel Gregory Higgins.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. So, rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It says on the agenda we're to have an attorney-client executive session, but that is sadly been canceled today.
Sadly.
Irony.
That's right.
So, does anybody have any additions, deletions, or reorganizations for the agenda?
We do, Commissioners, we'd like to delete the presentation and for calcium minerals and materials. They'll be back in August. Unfortunately, they were not able to make it for today's meeting.
Okay.
So we'll have them back here in the month of August.
Is that it?
That's all we have.
Does somebody want to make a motion to approve the agenda with that deletion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we have no presentations.
That is correct.
So we're on the consent agenda, and does anybody have any items? Oh, sorry, does anybody want, sorry, I'm skipping ahead. Does somebody want to, make a motion to approve the minutes?
Madam Chair, approve the minutes with any necessary corrections or deletions or additions.
All in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda, does anybody have any items they want to pull? I know that we need to pull K9 or H9.
Each other, yes.
I got one too,
Okay.
just for clarification on H10.
Okay. And also, okay, that's right. So does anybody have anything else? Okay. So for H9,
Yes, Commissioners, under H9,
Can you make a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
yes, second? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
under H9, Commissioner, there was a request to donate $100 to the Hilltop Missouri Missionary Baptist Church. Unfortunately, what we determined is that that is not a 501c3. It's under a different category. In checking with council, it does not fit into our policy. We,
In addition, Mr. Almira, while I was just asked about this, as Article 1, Section 3 of the Florida Constitution says, no revenue of the state or of any political subdivision or agency thereof shall ever be taken from the public treasury directly or indirectly in aid of any church, sect, or religious denomination or in aid of any sectarian institution. But the first question is, what does port policy, and the port policy requires 501c3 status.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
all right.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Now, in the past, we have given funds to, religious organizations. And my question on that is, I think it was under donations or something. I don't know, maybe you all can go back and research, because this came up before some years ago, and there was a lot of work done on this. So I wonder where do you leave it? Because instead of coming from, community funds, I don't know where it came from, but it was under donations that they were giving money to children in their parish or in their church or what. So, did you have a chance, Mr. Pickens, to look into that exactly? But I know it was done over the years. But they had to give a rationale or reason for the funds. It could not just go to a pastor's anniversary, this or that. It had to be related to something they were doing in the community with children and people. Before I continue, I would like to say we have the celebrity in the room, Mr. Evans, who's the manager of Riviera Beach. He was all on TV. I didn't notice you. Maybe you gained a little pounds and you got all the stuff now, and I guess you really want your always stand up, just let them see you. I just wanted to mention, we're happy to have you here, sir, I'm sorry. But, could you elaborate on that? Because it was something about they had to be servicing children in the community. And-
I'm sorry, I was
If you could
looking back
elaborate on
at
that, because in the past, this was brought up, you mentioned they had to be servicing children in the community, and they had to show a 501c3.
If the board staff can research that and find out what exactly the issue that you're talking about at the time that the donation was made, I can take a look at that, but of course, we can't undo it.
Right, but it has to be 501c3.
Well,
And
that's
if they
of course,
have that.
the board policy does say
Right, I have no
501c3,
problem with the
and the
policy.
Constitution
But it was
also has
something that
some.
related to it, because I know that it was brought up, and then they were saying, well, you could get, or maybe the church or whoever didn't show the 501c3. I don't know the circumstances behind that, but it was, and if Mr. Mayor could allow staff or the clerk or
We
whoever
will.
that takes care of that to look into that. So,
Is that it?
yes.
Okay. We did have a little comment on this, so I don't know if one needed good, still would like to come speak.
Good evening, I'm Reverend Juanita Bryant Good. I'm the Director of Engagement with Cross Ministries, and I just wanted to come and offer our appreciation for your support of our programs to help feed those who are hungry here in our community. We are a nonprofit 501c3 interfaith agency serving the hungry here in Palm Beach and Martin counties through community collaborations, and it's through support of agencies, organizations like yourselves, that we're able to serve the hungry through our 8 food pantries by delivering and serving hot meals at our Caring Kitchen program, by encouraging proper nutrition and providing lunch, snack, and breakfast as needed at our summer and winter camp program, and recovering fresh produce that has been left behind in the fields so that those who generally can't afford to buy fresh produce have that opportunity. And so just want to say thank you for your support in helping us to be able to serve those who are hungry. And just as a side note, we are looking for a new location for our Riviera Beach Pantry. And so if you know of any potential locations or sites, we'd appreciate your contacting us. Thank you.
Thanks for coming today. Since we pulled H9, we only pulled,
Not particular, so
so do we have to go back and,
I think so, excluding the.
Yeah, so-
information.
how do we do that?
Make a motion on H9, excluding the Hilltop.
Okay, so just,
So move.
Before you make the
Before
motion, before you make that motion, I really wish I had funds I could add to her organization, because they do such a good job of making sure, they service the community. And I know we gave her $200, I mean, I looked at it, I went to be able to dock it up to 5. But can I make over there, two or three of my commissioners, with all that money in Mississippi, can you make it $500 for
I was the
her?
one that gave her the 200.
Can you dock it up a little more, because she costs so much, and I know you're not gonna use it, because I would give it to her, else Mitch, and I give you some to take it out.
Madam
You
Chair,
know, I mean, that's not fair. I mean, you nickel down and penny everything.
Madam Chair, if I can divert those funds that were, suggested for Hilltop, if I can divert those funds, which is in the amount of $100 to this cause. I'll have it for me as well.
they over the 100 to, so like 500.
I don't have any money, so I have to beg everybody else to help me.
You had money, you just spent it all.
But it is what it is. Thank you very much.
Can someone make an actual motion?
I would like to make a motion that we accept H9 and with, the Cross Ministries donation between $500, am I correct now, instead of 2? And we would exclude Hilltop Missionary Baptist Church and further research can be done.
Well, I think it's confirmed, right, that it's not a 501c3.
If it's not a 501c2, then they would not qualify, so it just.
Isn't that, have we confirmed that?
If, none of these go through.
It's
So
been
I have-
confirmed that it's not a 501c3.
Right.
So,
Okay, if it's not a 501c3,
C3.
then we would not include them, and we would add cross industries up to $500. That's the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Can we, so it's unanimous, yes?
Yes,
Yes,
it's unanimous.
Motion.
Motion is unanimous.
Okay,
We're on
H10.
H10 now, again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have a question. I don't really have a problem. Some of the commissioners were a little short. The only thing I'm a little concerned about is that, say if a commissioner uses his funds for travel, and then and he has nothing left, but he wants to go to New York, and it's thousands of dollars. We don't have any dollar amount on the transfer. So that's the only problem that I would have. Once the commissioner leaves it, uses his funding, and if it's a few dollars, a couple hundred, $3, $4, whatever, that's fine. You could either take it out of maybe next year's, or I just don't want to be in a position that, I don't travel, and then at the end of the year I have nothing left, and someone says to me, well, you didn't even go anywhere, and where's your $2,000 or $3,000? That's
Ms.
my problem.
Okay. I hope that this will clear everything up. Years ago, this problem came to the board about 8 years ago. I was here, and Sickle was here, and Wayne was here, and the mayor was here. And I thought this was cleared up. I'm shocked to even see it on as an agenda item, as a consent agenda item. We voted. We had a commissioner who went everywhere. And some commissioners did not travel at all. But we never in 1 year exceeded the total amount of money in that particular for travel. Travel has been, what, $5,000, which is $25,000 for all of us, or $30,000, which is, I think that is now. So we've never exceeded that amount. And because we've never exceeded that amount, if a commissioner went over 500, 200, 3 pennies or whatever, they just took the money and just, from the whole budget account, and it was just used. It was not like, hey, if you're over 400 and you can't go over 600, 700. It was such that any commissioner could travel if they felt deemed to some of the associations, some of the meetings that dealt with the poor, and there was no problem because 1 or 2 of them might not ever travel at all that year. So it's not like where the money is coming from. We have a pot of money. After you've exceeded your amount, and this is what has happened year after year, if you've exceeded your amount, then the other funds would just come out of it can come from anyone. And the reason why, because a lot of the people don't travel. So the money is in a pot. That's the way I've always looked at it. And we used it.
I think
But it was never, it should never be like, if you're $400 over, now you can only go 2 or 3 more. But because the other commissioners might not even travel at all, and there might be some good meetings that maybe we can get something out of, or maybe they can learn from. Now, because you don't travel, I don't think you should hinder and have another person not traveling. But we voted on this about 8 years ago, and if Mr. Mayor, if you have our clerk to go back and look through the minutes, I'm gonna try to find it, and she can find it, where we voted that any travel, because even in the meeting, I said in the meeting, hey, you have rain. I remember saying those words, throwing my hand up. But we voted that it was okay. We just don't want you to go over your budget. But if you go over and there's another meeting you feel that you would like to go, you should be able to go to.
Okay.
If Wayne sees something else, or Kathleen, you should be able to go.
Okay.
You take my money.
I think Commissioner Strickland would.
Yeah, that's not exactly what happened. It was a specific instance that a commissioner had needed a little bit more money, I believe. If that's the case, then we don't need to individually just put it in one big pot, I guess. So,
I thought the point was everybody had a stipend every year.
You do.
If
You
they
get 6,000
So they shouldn't
each.
go over it, right? If they don't use it, then it just doesn't get used and you can't accumulate it for the next year, correct?
That is correct. Once-
when you can have them.
So-
This doesn't.
I don't really see the point of having it all 30,000 in one big pot, because I think you run the risk of, not having it be fairly distributed throughout the 12 months. That's my thought, Commissioner Williams.
So, I concur with majority of Commissioner Wright's comments, and this is where, in the past, a commissioner or two have gone over by $400. And if there were monies remaining in the total commissioner travel budget, we did say, hey, clear it out, it's okay. I think our colleague to our left's concern is, in this case, I think I went over $401.22. So let me explain. I should not be allowed to now book another event in the same fiscal year. Is that right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a fair concern. I think that's fair. So I think to the extent that we may go over by a couple dollars, you close out the year, you're done, and not initiate a new event in the same fiscal year. I think that's fair. And that's what I'm
That's fair.
You-
Right.
I didn't hear it that way. So you're saying, once you've depleted your funds and we take care of the little excess or whatever, then that year you cannot book, you're going forever. You stop.
That's what I'm hearing
Yes.
from this.
So it means that you have to be mindful of what you booked that year in that fiscal year,
Right.
not to exceed the amount of money that you have to spend.
Right.
I think if you want
Right.
to do something over and above that, you should then come before the board and
And
make a
ask for-
formal request.
Yes, I would agree with
Okay.
that.
Now, excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Just to clarify, something similar came up last meeting in which we all had to chip in and cover the excess. Is that an ask of us today to cover, which I'm willing
I
to?
don't think there's a specific thing that we're asking.
Okay.
I think
No,
it's
what I'm
just a
saying,
philosophical
when we look
discussion.
at the $6,000 and then now we're looking at a deficit, what we did, if I recall correctly, it was in community grants. We all pitched in to
That's
cover
correct.
the excess. So is that,
We're asking-
will that be amenable at this point to do that for the two
Essentially,
commissioners that went on?
Essentially, we're asking for a clarification of the policy and also to cover the funds. Because if we were to say, yes, we can pull it from others, well, boom, which of the commissioners do we pull out, or is it a total, do we prorate it into 5 and then go ahead and get the money?
Well,
Collectively, I would suggest that, because I'm willing to give up,
do we have, or is there a specific ask right now? I mean, he's over,
There is.
somebody else out over?
You-
Look.
I'm over?
No.
How much am I over?
$11.
You're $11. I can give $11.
That doesn't
Wait,
even really.
look, we need to clear this up because I don't like the way this is sounding.
Exactly. This is house cleaning that should not have, in my opinion, came before us. But if it seeks the board's, I don't mind relinquishing, and I guess Mr.
Well, you can have my money. You can have
Commissioner
my money.
Enright doesn't mind.
I
To
don't
cover
mind.
the-
I'll cover whatever.
Well, if I may.
Me too.
I-
In order to put this to bed and move
I
on.
like the way this is worded. I mean, and it's what we've done in the past. Does it have to come from a specific line item, or does it come from the total fund? Or is it $30,000?
Essentially this is what we would do. We would go to each commissioner's travel, make sure that there's enough money. And both of yours, this is your award. So that's now up to 3 other commissioners, and then we would divide it equally. That's
You can just have it.
and that's just a bookkeeping, left pocket, right pocket.
That's complicated. Look, if you have to put it, he can just have mine, just take it to mine, and that'll be, and she can have mine $11 too. So, I mean, just give it away and calculate on them. Because it becomes complicated when you have to divide it among 5 people and
I
take
don't
from
see
here.
it.
I think
It's
Paul,
crazy.
did you want to weigh in here?
We're about $450 in total short. There are 3 commissioners left in the travel funds,
Yeah, just take it.
150 each in the problem solved.
Perfect. Perfect.
I just want the record to show I was only $11.
So we need a motion.
I motion that we split the cost among the commissioners that do have the funds in order to cover the deficit
I have a
Equal.
question.
Second?
equally.
Oh, is there a second?
I second both questions.
And under discussion,
Okay.
but we need to add what Wayne talked about also to the motion No more travel. So that-
For that.
Well, unless you bring it.
Yeah, you have to bring travel.
Right, and that's for that time period too, but I think that, when you divide it among 5, I don't think it's fair that way, and the reason why I'm saying it's not fair that way, because if you divide it among 5, and somebody, one of us wanna go somewhere and says, oh, wow, I'm short because I gave here, I think just ask the commissioner when they just give it up, and I think that'd be better, because if he or she is not planning to travel the rest of that fiscal year, then hey, they can get their money and that's it. But if you divide it among us and then somebody says they're going and they might be short, we're back where we started. Now, that's my take on it.
Okay, well, I think the bill right now is split, about 150 each. And including that, if you do go over and you feel that you need to go on a trip or something, you have to come before the commission to vote, borrow whoever's money. And that person's not.
That's what I heard.
Okay, so.
Well, there's a current motion on the floor, do I need to rescind or add that to the motion?
I guess you need to just repeat the whole motion.
Yeah.
Repeat your motion. and then-
Repeat the motion and add that last sentence, please.
Okay, I motion that, I move that we, split the funds evenly to, satisfy the deficit as well as, the verbiage that was stated indicating that if the commissioner, wants to and had exceeded, they would come before the board to ask for approval
For
To get it from
travel.
some other.
for additional travel.
commission. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you. We're on to executive reports.
We are, yes. All right, commissioners, are on the board.
Oh, I have something I did not pull. I'm so sorry. I really did not pull. I just saw it a second ago. Madam Chair, if you don't mind. We need to go back for H8. This is development. And, because Jill gave us some information before, and she was supposed to bring it back. She told us she would bring it to the board and go over it today. And I have not seen it. And I want to know, I had some stickler points on that, because number one, in the past, in business development, we've always had, if we decide to give a donation to an organization, there was no limit, and it had to come to the board anyway, and it was like $500. I gave Ms. Gerald, some information that was sent to us from Capside, because they're now having their gala. And I was very disturbed, because when I sent you the email, and I don't know if she put it in your packages, I can't see because my iPad just went crazy. But they're having a gala, and I was hoping that we can get the inside cover, and that was like, I think it was maybe over 500. And then maybe we can get a table. So with the new policies in line, we cannot give toward Capside like we have before, and they are a worthy organization. And also with these new guidelines for the MLK, our banner is in the Palm Beach County Convention Center. Our banner, Port of Palm Beach. That means we cannot give to that organization because according to these guidelines, I haven't seen the new copy. If you could give us all, and she was supposed to go over this, I guess it's in the thing, right? I'm ahead of us? Am I ahead of us?
Commissioner, if I could just address a few things in order. The first thing that you brought up is the program policies.
Right.
And I did get comments back from you as well as a couple of other commissioners on those. Since then, I sent out an email to all of you that at the budget workshop, we're going to propose a new program policy, which would combine the business development ticket funds with your community grant funds. So instead of having two different funds, you would have $3,000, and we would establish criteria for that program.
And that's for business development. So this right here, H8, what are we exactly approving for?
H8 for Capside has a $650 back cover ad. And
Inside cover.
it says the 650 is for the outside cover.
It's inside cover.
If it's inside, the 650 will cover it.
Okay.
Yes.
And then tickets.
A
It's on
table.
here for tickets, not a table, but tickets.
A
If
sponsorship.
all of you decide to go and bring someone, then we will of course purchase a table.
The sponsorship.
all the sponsorships for this organization come out of your community grants. If it's a sponsorship, but if it's a ticket,
before what
it's
we
business
did was-
development.
Before what we did, before we did a sponsorship, we did an ad, and I don't know if we did a table or something, because they had asked us for additional funds. Raina, have you had a chance to look at that?
Yes, Commissioner Richards has been the only commissioner to use funds out of his community grants. Two were for donations, one was a scholarship, and one was assistance for a student
No,
scholarship.
but for their gala, all of us have contributed for that. And this is for the
If
gala.
there was a ticket purchased or a table purchased, yes.
This is for the gala, what I sent you in the email. So
Correct.
for this gala, what are we doing for the
Yes,
gala?
Commissioner.
Because it's due next month, it's due before our next meeting.
Yes, Commissioner Richards.
So it sounds as though business development is purchasing the rear, the back cover, which
Or
is
whatever.
great, which is, or inside or rear,
Okay,
and then individual tickets out of our tranche, if you will.
okay. But see,
That sounds fair.
under this policy, she could not do that because it said it could not exceed $500. We were over $150.
The ad is over 500, but it comes out of business development. So
Yeah.
there's no requirement for that cap.
We should be honest, so it makes sense, business development.
Okay, so we can do that. Now what about the other event for our banners in the convention center?
The MLK event,
Yes.
it's not on this agenda because it's not until, I
Okay, so we'll
believe,
bring it
January.
back whenever it comes. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, for the budget, so we were, okay, I just was concerned, I didn't want us to, approve something and, Capside was not, because I knew it was $500, I was just concerned.
Okay, so we don't need to go back and
Okay, so we will look at that in the budget, and so we will still get the individual tickets and then the ad for $650. Okay.
accept the discussion.
Okay, thank you. All right, Commissioners, run report. On Tuesday, July the 9th, we had a tenants coffee meeting. There were approximately 18 tenants, actually there were 18 tenants. We took the opportunity so that all can present a summarized version of the 2018 financial results. We also had a special guest representing TECO Energy Peoples Gas. It's a gentleman by the name of Monty Patrick. He also provided the group with a presentation on how LNG, progress in LNG shipments, as well as CNG. Yeremy Farinas gave a welcome to the tenants as our new Communication and Public Information Officer and provided ideas as how she would like to best assist and interact with everyone. She asked the attendees to please get in touch with her to know what is happening in their company, so she will share on our website and social media. Let's let the community know what the board is accomplishing. Our next meeting, by the way, will be in the month of October.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I have noticed that, the one social media that I will look at is Instagram pictures. I can do pictures. Done a great job. And I'm constantly seeing the Port of Palm Beach coming across my feeds. That's pretty cool. Good job.
Message is getting out there.
I follow you guys on Twitter.
It's out there. Good job.
Somebody actually responded to her question, that's the number one commodity. Some wise guy said French fries, and he's sitting in one of the.
Was the correct answer?
I don't know. All right, moving on, Commissioners. Land sale on 13th Street. The land located on 1301 President Barack Obama Highway is now owned by Johnson Development Associates out of North Carolina. That is being leased by a local real estate agent by the name of Ski Roden. The plan is to construct a 120,000 square feet warehouse just outside our port. Discussions were held to determine how we can joint market the property for port users. Next point.
Hold on a second.
Question,
I'm sorry.
is that on the map, on the big map? Property, is it, does it go back?
It's right there.
And what's there now? Nothing?
Nothing, it's just a lace follow, that's the old private theater.
Yeah, old drive-in, swap shop.
Yeah. So now they're gonna be building a 120,000 square feet warehouse.
Anybody have any idea what the cost of that was?
I just out of curiosity, have we had some type of dialogue with the Economic Development Director for the city of Riviera Beach?
As far as the CRA or?
Yes, well, either from the CRA or from the Riviera Beach, because what I'm looking at as well as, and I know Calcium is one of the companies that's
Yes.
going to be coming to Riviera Beach, but at least working in conjunction with them to develop or actually work in conjunction to attract businesses that will utilize that rail. Because when I was growing up, you had flood risers, Canada Dry, and other things that utilize that rail, that cargo rail, which is also even back behind Tropical. But what I noticed was as time went on and as businesses started to go out of businesses, they were filled with businesses that didn't even utilize that. So we can kind of work with them in conjunction with business development and North Palm Beach, use all of our resources in order to see that come to fruition, or at least have some type of stake.
The short answer, Commissioner, is yes.
Okay.
Yes. All right, so moving on, and I'm so glad that Jonathan is here. Last night we got our meeting at the city. There were lots and lots of people with banners, and I thought they were welcoming us. It was for Jonathan. The meeting took place, and I will say on a personal note, I'm so happy to welcome you back and see you. In fact, we've already communicated that sometime next week we're going to be getting together to continue what has been somewhat lagging behind. So, Commissioners, we had the first land use and ordinance and the zoning ordinance that were read into the records without any discussion. The second meeting has already been scheduled for August 7th, when the plat and site plans will also be discussed and we hope approved. No negative comments, on the contrary, it was a unanimous vote from all 5 city council people, to which we are so very thankful. Moving on, Commissioners, featuring our tenants back to our new IPO. In an effort to feature our port, each month we will be featuring a tenant. Again, Ms. Farinas will be interviewing, shooting video, and editing a piece every month to educate our community and the public on how our tenants operate at the port. We will start off with highlighting South Florida materials. The reason for that is pretty much all of us drive on top of their materials, of course, asphalt. The video piece will be shared on all of our social media platforms and website in our news section, which will be called Tenant Spotlight. In August, we're going to be bringing back a phase 2 of this project, and I think we're all going to enjoy it, like it, and we're really encouraged by it. It involves school children. We'll see what we mean in the month of August. Lastly, of course, are the upcoming meetings for the AAPA, one in July the 24th and 26th. That's up in Philadelphia, the Core Security Seminar. And I will be attending the Florida Course Council meeting in 2019, full board meeting. This is where vested monies get allocated. That would be August the 27th through the 29th. Are there any questions? If not, I have an additional comment.
We have a question. Yes, go ahead.
When you're in Jacksonville, is that the meeting where they're going to look at all the courts and start making a determination of the funding that will be given to
That's where the
the courts
allocations take
according
place.
to dredging? How do
To what?
you
To
look?
what now? What was your last comment?
Allocations as far as dredging and
No,
where
it's
we
got
are.
nothing to do with it. This is vested monies. This is for projects inside.
Okay, and we're working on the aspect of the piece you mentioned at the last meeting, so we can come find a number of them again, right?
Being gets
Of
in
course,
top line.
we do
I
all
mean,
that.
to make sure that we're not begging mercy to stay surviving.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right. Now, the announcement for the board. As we all know or have heard, everybody's CEO's position is open, and they are actively recruiting, as you can imagine. I have been asked many, many times by many different people whether I am interested in that position. The deadline was this past Monday, and I'm here to tell each and every member of the board that no, I did not sign up. I'm not interested. I'm committed to the Port of Palm Beach. There were a lot of rumors going around that yes, in fact, I had. And with that in note, I will ask any one of you that if you ever have a question, please call me. I will gladly tell you whether I have or have not. These rumors start, I don't know why or where, but it can be a little annoying. So with that in mind, I assure you that I'm going to be here for quite a while.
Thank you for
Thank you.
that clarification. Engineering.
Good evening, Commissioners. Represent the update of the capital improvement projects taking place in the port. I will start off with the MOB, demolition and cargo improvement project. During the past weeks, the contractor completed the base court installation and compaction, preparing for the placing of the new asphalt pavement section. This week, on Tuesday, the contractor began replacing the first layer of asphalt, starting on the east side next to the existing reefer stations from Tropical, moving to the west close to the Sky Pass. The installation of asphalt continued to the last 4 weeks, so we expect the first layer to be completed by the first few days of next week. In addition to the construction of the asphalt pavement section, the subcontractor for NPNL, which was installing the wiring of the new underground conduit, completed the activity. All the wiring is already installed. We have been waiting for the past 2 weeks for FPNL to approve the switching permit in order for the underground wiring to be energized and tested. Based on conversation that I had with the engineer from FPNL, the issuing of the permit is not under her control. There are only 2 personnel working on the control office from FPNL, and those 2 persons are in charge of all the switching permits within the county. Hopefully, we get the permit real soon, and those poles are removed from the area. The issue with the poles that we have 11 poles within the construction area, and that will not allow the contractor to finish the last layer of payment. Hopefully, we get that covered in the next few weeks and complete the project in time. So far, the construction site is being done as per the original schedule. In the last update, the project showed that it is still on time and will be delivered by October 30th or earlier. Any questions related to the MOP? Next project that is under construction is a Burhead replacement. This week, last week, the contractor, which is Johnson Brothers, began the installation of the sheet valve. They started on the south side, progressing to the north. They already completed the installation of 11 pairs of sheet valve, which is roughly approximately 11% of the total sheet valve that need to be installed in the project. We have received 5 truckloads of sheet valve, and tonight we're going to receive 3 additional truckloads, which will have 40 total sheet valves at the project site. The first section, you can see here in the photo, 11 sheet valve on the south connection to slip 1, sorry. And that's what you see in the photo is the relocation of the template, which is in place in order to make sure that the sheet valve is installed in alignment. Other activities that are taking place, we see the barge next to the existing bulkhead. What the contractor is doing here is pre-drilling to the existing concrete cap in order to be able to install the soil anchors after the sheet valve is in place. This side view of the operation. This project is scheduled to be completed in 6 months. So far, far the project is under schedule, it'll be completed by the end of December. Any questions related?
On the sheet piles, was there any problem at all? I mean, in the last project we had, it was like a major issue with sheet piles. Why is this one going so much smoother than the last?
So far, we haven't had any issues related to the installation. Johnson Brothers, in our experience, has been very careful in following the construction plans, and this area were expected to be harder section to drive the sheet pile, and they didn't have any issues. So far, we haven't had any complaints or any mishaps in terms of installation, and hopefully we continue to do that throughout the project.
How long has the sheet pile been there on the one that we're taking out? How many years?
60 years.
How long?
50 years.
50.
Yeah, that sheet pile was installed in the 70s. But we're not removing the existing one. Basically, what we did is we demolished the cap section of the existing bulkhead. We're driving the new sheet pile in front of it.
Right.
And so if not, we will have a big, it was the way to keep the area
Yes.
safe, and it will be a more cleaner, easier way to do construction.
Okay, that makes it clear.
In this photo, you can actually see the existing sheet pile still in place,
Yep. Yeah.
and the new one is installed right in front of
I
us.
see. Okay.
Commissioner, during the February board meeting, the board selected Easy Canal as the CCNA firm for the design of a new passenger bridge. First, staff have been having numerous meetings with the Easy Canal team to discuss the options, design alternatives to meet the needs of the port at present time and in the future. After evaluation of numerous options, staff and design team have selected the best alternative for the design. Tonight we have Easy Canal representative that will provide the board a brief presentation of the conceptual design of the selected alternative. Tonight we have Mr. Franel, head of Easy Canal.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the board. This presentation will give a brief overview of the alternatives selected for the National Bridge. I'd like to begin by thanking Mr. Amira and his staff for the support provided to us in the exercise of going through, taking a look at the viable options and alternatives, and ultimately the selection of the alternative that we presented today. Again, my name is Everett Fennell, Managing Principal of ECF, and presenting with me will be the PM of the project, Richard Ware, Don Beer, our lead engineer, and he's with Al Gerwick and Associates, and of course the members from the staff that diligently work on the project. We looked at 4 options, and from those 4 options we selected the best of those that met the criteria that the board felt were most important to. Those 4 options were refurbishing existing passenger bridge, building a new bridge along the south wall of the terminal. A mobile telescoping option was also looked at, and ultimately the team working together selected an option that utilizes or starts at the terminal's embarkation door that exists, running south across the dock to the bulkhead, and then west 150 feet along the bulkhead, and with a gangway for utilization for accessing the ship embarkment entry. Now that gangway is being designed to allow access along the 150 feet of the passenger bridge. And also, besides having that flexibility in movement, also some vertical movement to allow for any ingredients of providing conditioned space. That is an air conditioning system we added to it. Fire if required. And of course, like the system itself, what's not shown here besides the canvas covering is that the bridge will be completely encapsulated, clear plastic, to allow an open air feeling to the proposal. Additionally, the plastic covering will be capable of being rolled up to allow the bridge to move along and provide different egress points along it based on what type of ship is in there. So it's difficult to see there, but what's not shown is the plastic covering. You see the top canvas, but everything else is shown. This is another view of it. You see the gangway retracted back, and another view showing the egress or walkway. Finally, you know, the design did take into consideration traffic, constructability, and we also took the time to do to refresh the cost structure that we identified for, to give the commission a better understanding and staff of what the pricing we could identify for this bridge. It contains the major cost drivers, so you can barrel in as far as you would like, and also identified what we felt like contingency at this time. Other than that, if there's questions, the team themselves are here to answer.
I have a couple questions. Why did you choose this option over the others, just out of curiosity?
Well, keep
the options that we chose was really based on cost, on maintenance in the future. There's a I don't know if you have a report, but there is a matrix in the report where we graded the various options on how we felt and the information that we developed on them as far as those costs and maintenance in the future. So those were the basic items that we judged each of the potential.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, what was critical about that process, that it was a team effort. The board, as the owners, were involved. The categories were weighted, and then at the end of the day, we compared that weighting process. But we had all the stakeholders involved, and of course, we looked at the technical issues associated with the role.
Commissioner Sickles?
Yeah, a couple questions. One, where will this be constructed, or is it made, or is it coming from somewhere else, or what's where is it coming from?
The actual bridge itself is it would be all aluminum, and that would be prefabricated and brought onto the site, fabricated on site and lifted into place. The foundations are as much as possible below ground to not interfere with the traffic. There's a portion of it which is galvanized steel, which is the main support frames from the concrete up to the aluminum bridge itself. But the aluminum it will be prefabricated and brought on the site.
So it's actually going to be built right outside. It's not going to come in already built.
The foundations have to be built on site.
Yes.
The auger cast piles that will be used to support the structure, and so all of that has to be built on site. The rest of it will be brought in and put together and in place. So hopefully, when we set up and looked at it, we tried to keep in mind this so that the downtime of the actual system itself would be as minimal as possible. All of the foundations can be actually constructed with the existing bridge in place. So that really what you have is there's a period of time when you have to take down to put up the new bridge, but that with it being prefabricated and sitting on the site, that should be.
I have a question for Ken Hearn. Ken, what is this bridge gonna be able to, in case we get a different cruise ship in here, and, you know, is it gonna be very mobile? So-
Absolutely, Commissioner. If we go back one slide, if you would, please. Okay, if you look at the picture it's shown, this is complete. The bridge is completely to the west. The way it's designed is we can just slide that piece all the way to the east and be able to utilize it for different vessels when they come in and the doors are in different locations. EC Finel was absolutely fantastic in being able to help us identify our needs and basically what would be the best solution. One of the things that we pointed out was our frustration with the steel that's out there in the existing white elephant continuing to rust next to it in a saltwater environment. The same thing with the FMT components and things of that nature. When you have monstrous computer components and things like that, moving components on an electronic structure next to a saltwater environment, you're inviting maintenance costs that will shoot through the roof on an annual basis. This structure has the minimum amount of moving parts, the minimum amount of mechanical. We will have some in relation to hydraulics and things of that nature, but this meets all our needs. And if we go back one more, this one here is the one that is the most concern of the cruise ships. The captain of the Classica as well as the Grand Celebration have weighed in on this option as well. Their biggest concern has always been that our existing loading bridge is only 3 feet off the bulkhead, which means it's only 8 feet from Seaguard. So anytime the ship goes out, especially with the situation when you have ebb tides pushing out and the tide coming in, the stern of the vessel gets pulled as soon as it goes out, which means the bow of the ship is actually going over the dock. So it was critically important to keep that gangway off the dock as much as possible. And with this rendering and their concept, it takes it 25 feet off the dock. So the only way that ship's going to hit it is if it jumps up on the dock and wants to smack it. But this is an excellent concept, and we greatly appreciate EC Finel's opportunity.
Very good.
That's great. Thank you very much.
This is basically the concept design for the next board meeting. We'll come up to the board with the proposal for the final design and pre-ready documents so we can go out for this and get the construction completed.
Okay, the Commissioner's report. Commissioner Henry, do you have anything?
Well, I attended the TPA meeting, and just to give you a quick update, there was a resolution approving the TPA's personal handbook, the fiscal 2020 strategic plan, and the annual priority projects. Also, I'd like to thank Aaron Hoffman that attended, and I guess he's been appointed to be the liaison. Okay, so I was glad to see him there. So we'll be going over some things and trying to look at some ways that we can actually just gain some meaningful conversation and dialogue and benefit. Lastly, I gave each one of you a book that was the Pleasant City Family Reunion Committee that presents a salute to the fathers and they honor Alcee Hastings, and our actual ad was placed on the back of it. So I just wanted to give each one of that, and Mrs. Everett Clark, who is the founder and owner, she told me to give her regards and thanked us for assisting them and also supporting their event. That's it, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Richards.
I have nothing.
Commissioner Stickland? Okay, so I guess we're on to governmental affairs.
I don't have a report unless you, I submitted everything in writing, but if you have any questions, I'll be happy to.
Is there any questions? Thank you.
I have one question, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Does he have the socks on?
No, Commissioner.
J1.
Thank you, Commissioners. We've attempted to bring this to the pass, and we now have a final product. It has to do with travel, almost very popular subject. And this is strictly for clarification purposes. Staff and I agree that to review our current per diem policy. We found that our last change was back in 2013. Those numbers today are $11 for breakfast, lunch is $18, dinner is $27 for a total of $56. As we all know, costs have gone up, and that obviously adds to the challenges that we talked about a little while ago. Hence, and I must remind you, and this was council has weighed in on this, we are under state statute. The state statute also allows us, under a resolution, to increase the numbers that are currently published. Never below it, but increase. Hence, here to request of the board to consider having a new resolution that will add the following numbers. Instead of the current $11 for breakfast, we increase that to $15. The current lunch of $18, we increase that to $20. The current dinner of $27, we increase that to $30, bringing that total to $65 instead of $56. Very important. This is strictly for the state of Florida. Once you travel outside the state of Florida, then we are guided by the General Service Administration. Each city has its own per diem, and that will be what we would follow. Example was brought up a couple of meetings ago where Commissioner Enright mentioned about, well, in Washington, D.C., you can't even get breakfast for $65 or something to that effect. Well, we will be following, again, the General Service Administration. Foreign also comes under the U.S. Department of State, and they have their own website, and they have those individual numbers associated with the country that you are traveling to. So, with that said, Commissioners, my request for you to consider is to have a resolution and publish, adopt the aforementioned numbers that I just included.
I have a quick question. Why don't we just automatically update it every year to the state of Florida? Why are we still 2013?
I don't know the answer to that, Commissioner, but I think we caught it, and if this will be the policy going forward, then we can do it every year, particularly during the budget session.
I just think that that would make sense. Yes, Commissioner?
Yes, I assume Greg has looked this over and passed off.
Yes, I have.
It's fine.
Thank you.
To make it simple, I don't think we should do it every year. I think that we just should go by whatever the state allocations are, whatever the federal, the general service, what they are, and just let it go. Do one resolution and say, hey, this year the state is doing this, we're doing this.
So when you
So when we discuss that in the budget.
Just to make it simple,
Right.
because every year we have to come up with this and do house, we call it house cleaning, I hate those words. And then you, we have to come up with a number. No, just whatever the state of Florida has on the books that year, do it.
So we can
Whatever the-
The
discuss
state of Florida is actually lower.
Oh, it's lower?
Yes,
And I
ma'am.
guess I couldn't tell, I needed my,
Well,
okay, well, we'll look at this.
we can discuss this at the budget meeting.
All right. So
But we can approve the numbers now, but I just thought we might want to discuss it at the budget meeting. how that-
that's fine by me.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
approve it.
does somebody want to?
I make a motion that we approve the suggested by Mr. Mayor in this report for whatever the amount she said.
And we'll bring you ratification during the next meeting, the resolutions, so everyone has read it and agreed to it. All right.
Any discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. J2, Peanut Island update. Commissioners, this update is to provide you an overview of Peanut Island as a whole. To that end, a Peanut Island overview white paper was created to incorporate all land, leases, and submerged properties on Peanut Island. We actually have a total of 129.89 acres that are associated with the Peanut Island properties. If you notice, the one area that we are currently in discussions with in relation to the county is the Coast Guard facility, which is that one small triangle that's in this area right here. But our areas actually cover a whole lot of area over there to include submerged lands. On the background, we currently have a 30-year lease with the county. It was initiated January 4th, 1994. The county leasing 36 acres of the property, which basically is along the shoreline of the island. 30-year lease expires in 2024. There's one-year, 25-year option, which would extend that out to 2049. That is an automatic renewal that if we don't send a notice 90 days in advance, it will just automatically renew. One of the things in relation to that lease is that the indemnification paragraph was basically deleted in the original lease, so there's some concerns about liability over there as well. The county lease conditions identify that there is a island master plan, a right to inspect by the board, and an operational master plan that requires annual meetings, development, site status of visitor use, review of problems and concerns. So you're aware, we are currently receiving complaints from the public as well as the county concerning 2 vessels that are moored over there. There have been 12 incidents with these 2 vessels since 2018. And it involves a 40-foot Sea Ray cabin as well as a 53-foot Hatteras cabin. You may have noticed in the news a couple months back where an individual was arrested on Peanut Island for attempting to drown his dog over there. It's actually one of those vessels, the owner of one of those vessels over there. Yes.
Who has jurisdiction on getting rid of those? Or is that
There's actually a discussion going on right now with myself, Port Council, as well as the State Attorney's Office and Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office because of the submerged land. We want to make sure that we do this cautiously based on some incidents that occurred in locally with submerged land.
This land is
submerged land. It's land that's leased underneath the water.
right.
But we want to make sure we go slow. And
Where are the 2 boats?
The 2 vessels that are, there's actually one here, and then one up a little bit farther to the north. If we go,
And they live on the ship?
But they're full-time?
yeah, they've been pretty much taking up camp for the last 6 months. If you see where the docks are on the east side of the island there, it's just north of that. And it's right on the boundary of the red and orange lines. Port Council has definitely pointed out that there is a need for a survey. I went back to the lease from 1994. My eyes aren't that good, especially with these. So we're going to need a survey at some point so we can actually determine which land is ours and which isn't. And then we also have to see what we own versus what we actually lease from the state. The jurisdictional questions are out there that we have to get legal advice on, and we definitely want to make sure that we participate with the state attorney's office, so we're on firm ground. In relation to the Coast Guard station, we continue to address the code violations that were identified by the county. Port staff continues to address these by having electrical inspections done by DAFCO Electrical in relation to disconnections and make safe. To back up just a little bit, these were based on improvements that were completed by our previous tenant without requesting appropriate permitting and that nature from the port and or the county. We've also completed a fire inspection over there with the Johnson Controls to do flow system tests on the building fire suppression system, as well as replace fire hoses, which are a requirement in code as well. Unpermitted improvements are pending property disposition as to who ends up with it and where we're gonna go with it. We are definitely gonna have to get out there and do some more cleanup because there's a lot of debris that's left inside the buildings that should be removed. The facility is close to the public and no trespassing signs are posted. Security alarms are installed and monitored. We still have the Hurricane Irma claims that are out there. The estimated damage is at $213,771. The claim deadline is approaching, so if we're going to initiate these repairs, we need to move forward sooner rather than later. The restoration repairs that were estimated by the county through their contractor, White Construction, the facility, the partial repair. Yes, sir.
Sorry to interrupt. Can claim reimbursement deadline extension?
We're able to do extensions on. We've had some interesting experiences with FEMA in relation to port claims as well as claims for Peanut Island. I'm trying to figure out a way to say this on the record. It's almost like the system is designed not to give you money, and it's a very uphill battle. It's a very uphill challenge. It's hard for me to request the executive director to support spending money that we're not sure whether we're going to get it back or not. While we continue to work the process, there is that possibility that we could expend the funds and not have them reimbursed by the federal government or the state.
So we're extending the deadline being extended while we're trying to figure it out again and again. You need a commissioner to join a team and make a decision or something, or?
Well, I mean, again, it's just identifying the funding to spend to start the project, but I need everybody to be aware there is no guarantee on the other end that money's going to be reimbursed. We will try our best efforts, but there is a lot of challenges that we passed all the challenges for the federal government, but now we're having challenges in the state where we're dealing with KPGM, and there's very long processes that you have to follow to the T. And if you miss one, you end up being denied, or they pull back the money.
So we're just trying to not spend it until we know for sure.
That has been my attempt from day one.
Yes.
Mr. Curry?
Yes.
In the past, have we ever not received the funds? I mean, in the past,
We have had claims that were submitted that were later determined not to be in compliance with the regulation, and they didn't fund it.
And then we had to go back and resubmit them?
It's a one-time, it's a one and done kind of shot.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Shipman.
As one commissioner, I don't feel that we should spend any money until we really have a firm negotiated deal with the county. That's one thing, so.
That has been my hope.
Yeah, so once that comes in, but I can't see us spending $213,000.
See, if we were able to quickly get into an agreement with any party, and we were able to identify funds that were due it, this money could actually be utilized as a cash match to like a grant as well. So it's, there's very different levels that are flying on this that I just need to get them lined up at some point.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
We are having a meeting already scheduled for next week with Virginia Baker, so this will be long.
Okay, well, partial repair to make the facility safe was at $1.8 million. Full restoration was projected at $4.4 million. The pump, we do have the signed MOIA for the groundskeeping over there. While the document says that they haven't started it yet, they did start it Friday last week, and we're in the process of paying the invoice on that now. Possibility of, we have discussed with the county the possibility of combining both leases, the one that's going to expire in 5 years with a new lease for the Coast Guard station, to see if that is an option for them. The county has time again told us that they have absolutely no funding for the item that they're willing to commit maybe that will change with the meeting with Verdinian. But we've also been asked to look at private sector interest and discuss the situation with Richard Penske. Richard Penske is intrigued by the idea of private partnership. That's based on the board's desire as to where we go with that.
Commissioner Enright.
I think that we need to start looking elsewhere. And the reason why is because as a county, it appears to be scrapped for money. We know that. They told us in so many words, we should not put all our eggs in the same basket. I think we need to start actively looking for private partnerships, public partnerships with Peanut Island. It is a jewel in Palm Beach County. It will sell. I know it will. We just have to get the right partners. Also, I'm looking at Mr. I moved to start there. But Evans. I was thinking, because it is in Riviera Beach backyard, and between the city, another private partner, whoever, Mr. Peterson, you can pull folks out of the hat. I know you can. And in conjunction with the city, we should be able to do something, because that is a jewel, and everyone who comes to Palm Beach Island, think about Peanut Island. I mean, the Fritz out there, the yacht, all this kind of stuff. And I think that if we continue, I don't see, maybe I'm doubting Thomas, I don't see us really going far with the county in this big project. I just don't see it. And as money continues to dwindle and get smaller and smaller, I don't think it's going to happen. But I think we should pursue it. But I think we need to start looking at these two gentlemen out there in the audience and get them working. And hopefully, well, we can't make the city manager work, but I'm hoping that you would be willing to work with Mr. Pinsky somehow to make this happen. That's the company.
I feel that we, need to really deal just with the county for now, and start talking to anybody else that can just mess things up. So I think we're pretty committed for the county, and they've always indicated no funding, but you talked to Karen Marcus, who's pretty knowledgeable about this. She doesn't think that's going to be a problem. There's plenty of grant money to go around, so let's see how the meeting with the county goes and not start talking about private partnerships. That would be something that, as one commissioner, I would have no real interest in being a partner on a project out on Peanut Island. So why don't we just see what happens with the county, and then we can, as a group, make a decision on what the final outcome would be.
Commissioner Anderson.
I can understand both of my commissioner's concerns, but I tend to lean towards maybe a P3 or working along with the city, because as you know, you and I, Commissioner Enright, we took a meeting with Jeff Green, and he indicated there's some special interest, and I would like to either see a feasibility study or RFP, or at least put a filler out there to see what we can get. I think it's prematurely just to negotiate with the county, but I can understand my commissioner's sentiments of sitting down and seeing what the county has to offer. But I do see it as a jewel, and I don't see too many people getting on waterfront property or property such as Peanut Island, because anytime any event, almost any weekend, I did like the conceptual plan about restaurants and, replacing the docks and those things. But if you go by there any weekends, unless you 4th of July or anything, or just, any day, it's crowded with boats, docks, and whatnot. And I see Selfish Green, I see other places and other restaurants and other venues, even the water taxi, they're booming. Even our, the marina here in Riviera Beach. So I think we can find some common ground. But I just don't want to be short-sighted and give up that valuable part of the island.
Thank you. I don't, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think getting this agreement with the county locked in precludes us from doing P3 later on, correct?
Again, it's whatever we get from the county would be in draft form and presented to the board for discussion and determination on how you'd like to proceed.
I'd like to get back to any board on increasing throughput, increasing tonnage at the port, and I don't see how this does. We're talking about this for months and years. This is hanging around our necks. It's an anchor around our necks. We say it's a jewel. It sounds nice, and it's a jewel, I said it also, so I'm safe. It's a jewel, but what do we do with it? Commissioner Dean? All right, I'm sorry. I didn't interrupt it. Palm Beach doesn't want bloodshed over there. We had years and years of Palm Beach saying, please don't do anything over there. It has historic value, so we want to take care of it, but it doesn't help us with our throughput. It doesn't help us increase our tonnage, consistent with the concerns Commissioner Wright and all of our concerns. So I think we need to, I don't want to talk about this 6 months from now, 12 months from now. The counties are dragging their feet. It's nice to say, let's deal with Big Brother and maybe they'll do something. They haven't. So I think we need to go. I want to talk about this 12 months from now. No, I'd rather discuss other items.
Yes.
Can Plan B include a deadline, or should I say a time certain with the county? Hey, listen, by the end of December, that's it.
I like that, however, what could the Plan B?
Well, no.
Is it to possibly board and secure everything and have a good day? What is the Plan B?
Commissioner, if I may, I could not agree with you more. We need to get our tonnage up, have us Peanut Island, get our tonnage up. One of the biggest issues we have in the port, at least from an operational perspective, is laydown area for vessels to be able to come in, drop off their cargo, whether it be rebar, super sack cement, things of that nature. We have 129 acres out there that we cannot put cargo on. And we're actually leasing that property for no money. If there was some feasible way in the future, whether it be through the county or through private sector, to do some sort of swap lease, where basically you get, we're gonna give you 129 acres. Find us 129 acres within proximity to the port that we can actually develop or utilize for cargo, as a satellite port, for lack of a better term. If we were able to move some of these port facilities off the port, such as Tropical Shipping, container repair facility, Tropical Shipping's vehicle maintenance shop, storage areas for Teeter's agency equipment. What we need to do is move support functions off the port, open up the footprint of the port for more cargoes so we can increase our throughput, which would increase our tonnage. That has been one of the ideas out there as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea.
We need to do some.
We should probably come up with a Plan B
Or,
in preparation. Yes.
Madam Chair, or maybe we can even look at, if we lease the property for a substantial amount of money, is that possible rather than a dollar? I mean, if we have,
It's not even a dollar.
I mean, can we lease it for real money? I mean, is that possible? We can lease it for real money and then we can use those funds. I mean, there should be a way that we should be able to find they have to know it exists that we're looking for someone first. We have to put it out there on the street. And I'm pretty sure with all this money flowing in Palm Beach County, someone will say, I'll take it. They take everything else that's valuable. And if that be the case, then we should be able to lease it for a substantial amount of money. I think we need to start spearheading. Mr. Pinsky, I'm looking at you again. How we can make this happen? Or I can make him work for his money if I'm voting for it.
My intent today.
But we have to put it out there.
Yes, ma'am. My intent today was just to, give you a complete picture of Peanut Island. There's a 5-year window of opportunity here. I just wanted to make sure that all the board members are aware of the situation and that we take the right moves.
But before we leave this, I appreciate you bringing us back, but you did show us the Coast Guard station in that area that we currently control. Correct. We have monitors, we have cameras, we hope people don't, have parties over there. We need to do something with that. We need to do something, and I think this board should say, hey, staff, I believe this board should give directions to staff. We want a Plan B. We're not happy with how Plan A is going. If we cannot make significant progress soon with the county, we wish to start looking at some other options. So
Yes.
I think this board needs to give that direction.
I'll make a motion.
I just want to make the observation that the county controls the zoning on Peanut Island, and it's very, very limited. I think it's, I can't give you the exact use, but it's something like park. So the idea of being able to use it for cargo would require changes. If lease it for somebody for a lot of money would be very difficult because the uses are so limited.
And that's consistent with my comments about the town of Palm Beach and the county. I'm suggesting a plan B. I'm not suggesting what that should be, but staff should go back and come up with something.
Yeah, I agree with that. Do we wanna formally?
Well, why don't we wait till we at least have a meeting with the county before we start making motions on what to do? So let's at least have a meeting next month, we'll bring it back up and then.
There've been a lot of meetings already.
Well, this is the first meeting with the city, yeah, with Virginia, yeah, so let's have her,
That's fine.
Karen Marcus, at least find out where they're coming from. Then if that doesn't,
Well, let's,
do anything, it's only a week away.
include it in the agenda as a.
Sure.
Part, yes.
And then, I'm gonna bring it, we just, look at it next month. And then, instead of, well, maybe I think, this is my opinion, that we should, ask staff to start thinking about with Mr. Pinsky, and then if he worked $10 again, a plan B. I mean, we need to have a really, good mind-boggling session on where we go from here. I mean, put it on the table, and I think staff along with Pinsky, and I don't like the city of Riviera Beach to be involved.
Well, I
Because
think,
I really think they can do something.
That's a great segue. Mr. Evans would like to speak on this. So. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be back here in Palm Beach County and here as the city manager for Riviera Beach. We certainly would like to be involved in the conversation. Some of my board members have expressed interest in participating, so you know, the county is big brother, little brothers is definitely interested and eager to come to the table with some ideas and solutions. From the perspective that we see Peanut Island as a great opportunity, and it is a legacy project if we're able to work together to really do something unique. And so I can tell you, being on the west coast of Florida, when folks asked me where I was going, Riviera Beach, the second word was, oh, that's where Peanut Island is. So it is a part of our brand. It's synonymous to who we are here in Riviera Beach. So we have a vested interest to see what we can do to work in unison with the port as well as the county in whatever fashion. And I also want to communicate that my board is certainly interested and eager in working with the port to make sure that economic development and growth continues to happen, that we can move a lot more tonnage out of the port and really boost economic opportunities here for the residents in this community. I think we have limitless potential, and we're ready to get to work, and it's a new day in Riviera Beach, and you have a board that gets it, that understands the importance of this relationship, and certainly we'd love the opportunity to sit down with you all sooner rather than later.
Thank you very much. Yes.
So good to hear your voice and those words. Glad to have you back. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
So if we could maybe ask Mr. Mayor to have staff, or however, is it possible to start dialogue at least with Mr. Pinsky and the crew to get it together?
That's been done.
Just dialogue, just talking, not saying that, they can't make any decisions anyway. We don't know what the county's gonna tell them anyway.
Well, I think we're doing that, right?
We continue to talk with Mr. Pinsky and others. But first thing first, let's cross that T, meet with the county administrator and see what that brings, and we'll bring back a report a month from now.
Okay.
And just as curiosity, where are we? I know we were reaching out to the city of Riviera, the commissioners, and as well as now we have the city manager, because what we wanted to do was give a tour of our facility as well as Peanut Island, to let them see what was there, whether it's the Kennedy Bunker, as well as the goods and services that we provide on this side, because you have a new council, and many of them
honeymoon phase, so I can ask for a lot of things now. So the sooner we can get that meeting set up and coordinated, because I know they don't want to have a bunch of meetings because we're in the throes of the budget process, obviously, as you are. So certainly we'd love the opportunity to come take a tour, get an understanding of what exactly is happening here, and then how we can help facilitate a better working relationship so we can all succeed. So I will definitely work with your executive director. I do believe we are scheduled to get together next week, and then from that point coordinate a meeting to move some of the things that have been on the back burner to the front burner so we can start establishing some better relationships and some progress.
Thank you. Glad to have you back.
Glad to be back. Thank you. Got to run to another meeting, so thank you again. I appreciate it.
Are we on to
K1.
new business now?
Yes.
Come on up, K1, approval of union contract. Commissioners, Port of Palm Beach District and the National Association of Government Employees, R5 195, are seeking to continue their 36-year relationship, which began in 1983. Port staff, with direction provided by the executive director, held numerous meetings over the last 6 months with union representatives. Les Cantrell, national representative, as well as Anthony Harrell, the union president, and Kuma Payne, the vice president. This collaboration resulted in this new 3-year contract presented here today, which was approved by the collective bargaining unit in a vote and reviewed by Port's Employment Legal Counsel, Laura Donlin of Tercivia Law. The highlights are: it's a 3-year contract with a minimum increase of 3% annually. There were adjustments made to the shift differential pay going on second shift from 20 cents per hour to 50 cents per hour, and also a shift differential of on third shift from 60 to 70. This fiscal impact has been projected at $3,406 annually. Increased caps ranges by 30%. This has no fiscal impact. In our contract, we have a cap where the person meets a range, but since people stay for a very long time, we've had people come close to that range. They're getting closer to it. We wanted to knock it up as well. That has no fiscal impact at this time. We did a clarification on PTO usage in our security department. Reduction of security overtime was a key factor for our budget. There's a difference between good overtime and bad overtime. The good overtime is when we're actually able to bill for it, for such as gang watches and things of that nature. Bad overtime was when we had to cover PTO, people utilizing PTO. So we're able to minimize the bad overtime and actually increase the good overtime, which will definitely cover the $3,400. Port Council did recommend that over the next 3 years that we work closely with the union and council to do a complete rewrite of the 36-year contract. We've been kind of updating this as time goes on. So Laura's recommending that we update that. A lot of that is more in the legal areas for like family medical leave, to incorporate military personnel and things of that nature. But we do need to kind of like focus on that in the future. With that, Les, do you have any comments?
Just a couple of short notes. NAGE, you are the longest standing NAGE contract in the state of Florida, or nationwide. That tells me that prior to me getting here, that your employees are very happy. I can tell you that this is the first contract in 35 years that I've been affiliated with that was passed with a 100% vote by the employees. You've always got someone outlying that's not happy, 100%. So you should be very happy with that. I can tell you also that your staff, even though we didn't agree on everything, we had productive dialogue, open, and I think moving forward, that's going to benefit us. We were able to go through a lot of the contract and clarify what some of the intent was, because it is 36 years old. None of us were here when it was implemented. And that way we can move forward in that aspect. So I think that helped us a lot, and that's how we're going to have open dialogue. So I want to really thank Ken and his staff, Beatrice. It was definitely a pleasure. And like I said, we didn't always agree, but we had open dialogue. And it's refreshing to see an employer who's concerned concerned with their employees as much as y'all are. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Somebody want to make a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
Moving on, K2, Board of Contract. K2, award a contract, main terminal elevator room split AC system. In the May 2019, court staff requested and received approval to advertise and receive bids for a split AC system for the main terminal elevator room. This RFP was advertised on June 3rd, with bids received on June 28th. While several AC companies reviewed the job, only one bid was received from CMI Air Conditioning in the amount of $9,416, which was well below the projected amount. Board staff reviewed the submission, which identified utilizing a Mitsubishi 3-ton split mini system to fulfill the needs, which staff feels that will be sufficient for the job. Requesting motion.
Second. I just had a quick question, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Where was it, what was the website that it was bid on, or I guess, the notification or RFP, RFQ?
It was, I believe it was noted in the Palm Beach Post as well as on our port website.
Because in how many, AC companies that actually came out to visit the site?
I believe there were 3. I know for a fact there were 2, Train Air Conditioning as well as CMI were looking at it. Train was looking at putting a Liebert system in there, which would have put the price at the $54,000 range. We told them that it was open for other areas, but they were more focused in on the Liebert system.
Okay. And was there any indication or any notification sent to us stating that they would not bid on this project? Did we receive any?
No, just Ed called, our representative Ed called me, I asked him why he didn't bid on it, and they just said they didn't care to.
I'm just asking just for future references, we can actually, there's other options to bid, because I just, sometimes when you say the Palm Beach Post and then when you say our website, there's not a whole lot of contractors that are looking at those 2 areas. So if we can find other areas to advertise, even if we can pick it back like the county does, because this one bid, I'm just not comfortable with that. Just one bid and basically going forward. Maybe a letter stating that you're not going to bid or something of that nature, but those 2 avenues are just outlets. That's just not enough to me to be competitive. But those are just my thoughts. But if we can look at, there's Bid Sync, there's other areas that you can actually advertise in, and I'm sure, especially in this day and age, I don't see too many people turning out work. But that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, Ken will probably know this as well as I do. In the past, we've gone out for bids and sometimes we get 0. So a lot of times on small projects like this, we'll get nobody. So it's not, if it's only $9,000, I think we're pretty lucky to just get someone that's qualified that can do it. But this is surprising when you think of all the people that need work. But I remember a bunch of times we didn't get any bids for projects. So, we could try and see if we could do it, but don't be surprised in the next few years.
Absolutely. If there's other avenues of approach we can take on this, I'm definitely all ears.
Yes.
We do go outside that. We look at small businesses, we look at small business lists. We send it out wherever we can. If we can improve, we'll be glad to. So it is definitely advertised and we can communicate. If we can improve, we'll look to do so.
I will look into, I will look into speaking with Jonathan. Maybe we can use their list or their ways of communicating that need through the city.
Yeah, if you have any ideas.
Sure.
Yes. Oh, yes, there's a motion.
Motion
There's a second. Do we have, all in favor? Aye. Any nays?
Nay.
A motion to approve the AC. Are you saying yea or nay? Yes, okay.
K3, authorization, advertise.
Is somebody wanna?
Authorization to advertise RFP for property perimeter detection system. Port of Palm Beach District applied for and received Seaport Security Grant funding from the state of Florida for the extension of our perimeter detection system. We currently have a system that goes along Barack Obama Boulevard from our rail access gates to our southern perimeter. We're looking to extend that to include the annex property. This grant was awarded by the FDED Seaport Security Subcommittee and is managed by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. This system will be utilized to enhance the domain and situational awareness along the port's southern border.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Now we can come back, and since we have to advertise this and bid now, we should go further than the Palm Beach Post and our webpage.
I think,
And look at other stuff, so.
Paul.
Like Paul said, so we can actively, try to seek out, I don't know how much this probably be, but still, there might be little businesses that are around here that would be interested in doing for their business. Now we can put it in action.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
K4, authorization to advertise RFP Merchants Export Warehouse Painting Services. At the request of Merchants Export and as required under contractual lease agreement, the port is responsible to maintain the outside of the building of the Merchants Export. Merchants Management has expressed dissatisfaction with the building and surroundings, noting that they receive outside clients. This project is to be funded by the FY 1920 renewal and replacement, depending on when it's awarded. Yes, sir.
How much, do they pay a year for the leases, approximately?
Total port revenue, about 365,000 a year.
It's like 400.
And so you're aware on this one, commissioners, is we're actually gonna buy the materials, direct, and then basically utilize painting services for pressure washing and actually doing the paint job.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
If that be the case, then you can use a little tiny little company. I mean, and they're certainly not gonna look at no Palm Beach Post, now let's get real. Because if we're buying all the materials and you just really need painters and someone to steam clean and maybe do a bucket and stuff like that.
Man, let it go way up.
Right,
It's
so
pretty
then,
high up in the
you should be able to look at penny saving all the little, for the little folks to have, well, we should be able to advertise in little places like, small places like that for this kind of work because.
There is a small business opportunity for this, absolutely.
Okay,
We'll look at it.
okay, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Anderson, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Commissioners, under K5, just like to give you an overall view of how we see things. If you recall, less than 2 years ago, the Port of Miami had to spend over $1 billion to create a tunnel. Why? So that they can divert traffic from their Miami's downtown area, and they can use an exclusive in and out egress through the port. Port Everglades, not that long ago, went ahead and developed and constructed an ICTF in order to improve rail. And even with that, there's still a tremendous congestion when you deal with truck traffic, particularly during cruise season. With that in mind, and we're looking at our port, we have a unique situation that is we already have a rail. We already use the rail to the maximum, almost the maximum of its capacity. With that said, FEC, Tropical, and the port have had numerous meetings, and what we like to do is we would like to expand on our capacity and replace our current rail system. Why? So that in 10 years from now, we are not faced with what Port Everglades is using or is facing for that Port Miami. With that in mind, what I'd like to do is I'd like to turn it over to Carl Baker, and we have a former, well, actually a colleague of ours by the name of Rick Farron. Rick Farron is one of the former board directors of the Port of Jacksonville. He now works as an independent consultant. So, Carl, you're up.
Commissioners, good afternoon. This is going to be a little different from what you're used to for what we're looking for. What we're looking to do is go after the CRISI grant, which is Consolidated Rail Infrastructure and Safety Improvements. This is administered by the FRA and the DOT. You've all heard of Tiger grants. Well, in our world, this is the same, only much better. There's about $326 million available with this year's grant cycle. The wonderful thing about CRISI is it's just for rail. We're not having to compete with a bicycle path in Oregon like we would if we submitted a Tiger grant. CRISI grants, there's a number of different classifications, and you have to do number one before you can do number two and before you can do number three. Number one, the planning portion, we've already had done, and we had FDOT pay for it. Those two projects cost FDOT well over $100,000. There was 25 meetings between the port, Trans-Systems, Tropical Shipping, FEC Railroad. And we've all kind of come together at this point for a group hug on what's required to move the port forward as far as the rail goes. So again, a lot of work done that we did not have to pay for. FDOT paid for that. What we're looking to do is go after the Track 2 grant, which is for preliminary engineering and to handle the NEPA environmental protection issues. Next year, we'll come back to you to talk about the Track 3, which is for final design and actual construction grant to make all this happen. If awarded, our Track 2 grant would allow for the creation of preliminary engineering plans, the 30% drawings would meet the NEPA requirements, and for permitting. We're not asking Trans-Systems to do this. That's a discussion the board can have probably, say, December, as to who's going to do this work. Trans-Systems is just to write the grant that will get us the money that will allow us to do that. That gives us the definition of a shovel-ready project, which is what you need to move forward to the next step. The request would be for approximately $1.6 million. And so the breakdown for that is 50% of it would be CRISI money, federal. 50% of it would be non-federal funds, which would be split between the port, the FDOT JPA, which we already have, a tropical shipping contribution and an FEC contribution. The submissions are due on September the 25th, so the clock is ticking on this. And so what we are requesting is the board to approve Trans-Systems to submit a CRISI grant request on our behalf at a cost of $56,780. Questions?
Commissioner Sickler.
Yes, I guess the gentleman who's here from Port of Jacksonville, ex-Port of Jacksonville, here with Trans-Systems, I presume?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. So, I assume you've done quite a few of these in the past. I mean, you know, for other ports that are trying to get this work. I just wondered how it looks to you before us approving you doing this then. Like a 50-50 shot, looks like it's a good shot, or how did you really look into it well enough to make an educated guess?
Yes, sir. The CRISI grant, as Carl indicated, the CRISI grant is a much better grant with a much higher level of probability of success than, say, a build grant or a Tiger grant. Simply because a build grant or the Tiger grant or even an infra grant,
they have such a broad spectrum of applicability. And so, as Carl said, and really, it was funny, but it really wasn't funny. In the last round of build grants, they were giving build grants to bicycle paths in Oregon. So the Chrissy grant is specifically for rail. And as I went through what they call the NOFO, or the Notice of Funding Opportunity, which is the guideline for the grant application, I can see very clearly that your project here at the Port of Palm Beach fits very, very well. So number one, you've got a sort of a fenced grant that's fenced and applicable only to rail. You have a rail project here that meets all of the criteria. In addition to that, you have a broad spectrum, if you will, of stakeholders. These are people who would be willing to contribute. You already have an FSTED grant, so that's good. You have port, so you've got the port, you've got the state. If you have FEC and if you have tropical, you have that really broad base of support that the evaluators are going to look at when they adjudicate who gets the Chrissy grant, who doesn't. So if they can see that broad base of support from multiple sources, that's going to put you in a very good position. So again, taking a look at it and giving you sort of my feel for it, I think you've probably got a 60 to 70% chance of getting it.
And who are the evaluators that actually?
The evaluators, I'm not exactly sure who they are in terms of who they are person by person.
No, but I mean,
they come from the
Washington or-
Federal Railway
Yeah,
Administration.
Right, okay.
Yes.
Very good. Make a motion,
Okay.
accept the proposal.
Second?
Second.
Richards, seconds, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioners, we're almost at the end. Case 6 is the renewal of the law firm of Ackerman and of course of Richard Pinsky. This is a one-year renewal. His current contract expires on July the 31st.
One-year renewal.
Second?
Second.
Commissioner Anderson, seconds, any discussion?
I have one. I just wanted to make sure that Mr. Pinsky, it says, government affairs is not in here, so I guess I want him to do more for us. I guess, I'm pleased and I'm okay. If I didn't like it, I would say it. But other than that, I think he's done a good job this year and I would like for him to continue. But, continuing on him, I want more. I want you to be involved in a little bit more, and I don't know, maybe you can answer this question for me. You're our Washington liaison. I don't know if we need one or not in this troublous time, but so you're doing Washington and Tallahassee and you're everything. I guess it's interesting.
Madam Chair, Commissioner, thank you very much. First, thank you for making the motion of the confidence. Hopefully it'll pass and a thank you will be warranted. Yes, as you know, or I hope you believe, Commissioner, that my commitment to the Port of Palm Beach has always been there. It is number one in issues. I'm always watching in Tallahassee. I do watch the transportation issues. I am very familiar with the Chrissy. I think this is great what you're doing as far as that goes. But we are watching at the federal level all the time when something comes up. Every time your staff goes to Washington, meets with the congressional delegation, most of the local delegation knows what I'm doing. Congressman Frankel's office, Congressman Deutsch's office, of course Congressman Elsie Hastings. So we interact a great deal. Locally, I'm always ready to do whatever need be. I appreciate all of your confidence in me here at the local level. I work well. I was very glad to see Manager Evans back. We just renewed friendship and committed to working together, not just on that possibilities of what Peanut Island could be, but other ways that the port and the city of Riviera Beach can work closer together. It's not a time that whether it's Commissioner Sicklin, Commissioner Richards, Waldron calling on what's happening at the county. So whenever something specific, not only more, but happy and willing to do so. As you know, we've not increased our rates since day one. So once again, we're committed to keeping your expenses down. And working at your will, whenever, Court Director Almira calls, or any of the staff, I think they'll tell you I'm always, ready and willing to come over here at any time. Fortunately, our office is very close here, so, so I don't know how else you may, want me to answer the question, but absolutely always willing to do more and more and more.
Just on that note, I'd like to point out that he's doing federal and state for $3,000 a month, which is a pretty good rate.
And local.
Sorry, and local, right, even more. So, I mean, I think you can't really match that rate, and it's been my experience, and, that anytime we've asked him to do something or needed something, he's been able to perform, so. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, and K7, also a contract renewal, our wonderful law firm, Gary, Dietrich, and Ryan. We're looking for an extension of 1 more year. So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I just want to make one comment, Madam Chair.
Yes.
How's Mr. Gary? Progress. Mr. Gary, he's okay?
Yeah, well, he's doing as good as he can be doing.
We're sending our best wishes.
Thank you very much.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I believe, that's it for those items. Do we have any more comments from the public? No? Any comments from the board or commissioners?
I have a comment. I have one comment, I have one comment, since I brought up earlier, H8, and I thought that we were approving new policies, so, somehow I was confused, so I owe Ms. Jarrett an apology, because somehow I thought we were approving policies, not going over what we had previously, what they were allocating money for this month. So I owe you an apology on that, because I thought we were going over new policies, and that's why I pulled it, because I don't have an iPad to look at anything anymore. It just went crazy. So when I saw H8, I was thinking, oh gosh, we're approving these new policies and procedures, and new policies for business development, and I had not seen them. So I guess I thought I get an iPad, but I just owe you an apology for that. Thank you. Everything else I approve. I think the staff is doing an outstanding job. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification, Commissioner Anderson.
I just like to,
Workshop.
Oh.
I just like to thank the staff with their patience and, I've been a little slow, responding, but, they have definitely kept me in the loop. And thank you for working vigorously, and Jared, thank you for giving me all the information that I need on certain items to, keep me abreast of what's going on. But thank you.
Anything else? We do need to set the budget meeting and, workshop, sorry, and, last year we did it, right before the, commission meeting, so if everybody's okay with that, maybe what time do you think?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock? So we start at 3 o'clock on the 15th, and then go into the board meeting after that.
That is correct. Do we need no? Okay.
So is that
No
right?
executive session.
Okay. No executive session?
You sure?
I'm ready to hear,
Okay.
just in case.
All right. Thank you. We are adjourned.